Hello, my name is Brahane, and for my case study this quarter, I'll be presenting on the Guggenheim effect and its economic implications on local communities such as Bilbao. I do have to apologize briefly for this format. I'm having some technical difficulties, but we'll try to be as efficient as possible in this format. The Guggenheim effect refers to an economic phenomenon where we can see major cultural institutions like the Guggenheim Museum lead to greater benefits for the community, both economically and socially. The Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao is often looked at as a great example of how investing in major works of art and institutions alike can lead to regeneration of the economy, urban decay, unemployment, and etc. The museum was designed by an architect named Frank Gehry, a well-renowned architect in the world of arts and culture. The museum was built for two reasons. One, out of necessity. The city of Bilbao was in economic decline. There were high unemployment rates. Certain industries were in decline, shipbuilding and steel, for example. So a cost-benefit analysis was done and showed that given an initial investment, that it could be recouped and the city could be revitalized. So the decision to build the museum was not just out of necessity, it was out of strategy. There's an economic theory that says that investing in public goods and cultural investments like a museum can actually do well for the community by transforming it into one with high business activity, high revenue, and general growth for the area. Speaking more specifically in terms of benefits, with projections of around 500,000 people visiting the museum annually, the initial investment of $100 million was expected to be recouped. Of that $100 million, 84 was secured for construction and 16 for acquisition. As we see with firms like museums who are typically nonprofit, high startup costs are pretty typical for such institutions. So funding through the government and partnerships, as well as an economic stimulus, was vital for the construction for the project. As I mentioned, most museums actually operate as nonprofit entities because they focus on more of the aesthetic benefits of being what they are, public goods. But we also see them acting in monopolistic competition ways. So in terms of differentiation, museums offer unique collections and a variety of art, similar to other museums, but also other aspects of the entertainment industry, of both music and movies. We see elements of an oligopoly in the fact that there are interdependent decisions being made, as well as barriers to entry. I mentioned high startup costs for museums. So that is at play there. Moving on to a literature review, Baumel and Bowen made the case of the cost disease, which we have seen and explained during this course. The cost disease essentially spells out that there are rising costs in labor due to low tech advancement. In the second paragraph, Baumel and Bowen highlight, quote unquote, the productivity of the performing arts cannot grow at the same rate as in the economy as a whole, leading to rising costs, specifically labor costs. So because of this, because of the nature of this market and the institutions that fall under it, they're forced to look at other sources of funding, such as public funding, as we mentioned, private donations and charitable giving, or other revenue streams such as admission fees. Moving on to Maria Gomez's case, the case of urban regeneration in Glasgow and Bilbao. So here we can see a comparative study, but her argument generally is similar in both, in that the projects can both stimulate local economies, but help add identity and general value to such an investment. She says, quote, cities worldwide are investing in cultural projects to emulate the so-called Bilbao effect. As I mentioned before, the Bilbao effect is looked at as kind of a beacon of light for certain cities, where investment into culture and art can actually benefit the local economies generally and as a whole. Moving on to the economic model that I've created. So using NPV and the values that we know, here we can calculate and consider future cash flows generated by increased tourism revenue and economic activity. So in this situation, I've taken the actual revenue, 50 million pounds, and the first year revenue of 144 million pounds, and taken that to this calculation, where I've assumed a 10-year evaluation period with an annual net flow of 144 million. Calculating the present value of cash flows for each year, I come to a sum value of PV for $1.114 billion. Speaking more in detail on what the Bilbao effect has done in different aspects, the initial investment of $100 million was recouped. There was a much revenue taken in from tourism, 1.3 million visitors in its first year. And this, of course, has transformative effects on other industries such as hotels, restaurants, and complementary services that people tend to coop together when visiting museums and cities of high cultural value. But we also see property values increase. Real estate is becoming increasingly more valuable because of the Bilbao effect. And as a whole, the local economy of Bilbao's GDP grew at an average of 5% annually compared to a regional of 2.5%, again proving that the Bilbao effect is effective in its overall improvement in the city's infrastructure and services. Long term, the economy has overall been revitalized, but we see it specifically in waterfront redevelopment, once characterized by industrial decline, was transformed into a more welcoming and vibrant public space. Improvements to infrastructure and a significant rise in real estate value. Real estate prices in the vicinity of the museum increased by over 60% within 10 years. So again, reflecting the demand for residential and commercial spaces. Just to reemphasize the economic growth and cultural and social impact and community engagement, the impact